Emma Walker stepped out of her old, beat-up sedan and looked up at the grand, if slightly decrepit, mansion before her. The once majestic estate had seen better days, but its faded grandeur still held a certain charm. She felt a thrill of excitement mixed with a touch of apprehension as she walked towards the front door, her footsteps echoing on the cracked stone path. Emma was an art restorer, and she had been hired to breathe new life into the mansion's extensive collection of paintings. Among them was a particularly intriguing piece that had caught her eye, a portrait of a woman, shrouded in mystery and rumors of witchcraft. The portrait had been hidden away for decades, and Emma was eager to unveil its secrets. The mansion's interior was even more imposing, with high ceilings, dark wood paneling, and a grand staircase that curved upwards into shadow. The air was thick with the scent of old books, polished wood, and something else, something she couldn't quite identify. It was as if the house itself was alive, watching her. She made her way to the study, where the portrait awaited her. The room was dimly lit, with heavy drapes blocking out most of the sunlight. In the center of the room, standing on an easel, was the portrait. It was covered with a dusty cloth, adding to its air of mystery. Emma took a deep breath and pulled the cloth away. The painting was stunning, despite its age and the grime that had accumulated over the years. The woman in the portrait had striking features: dark, piercing eyes, and a solemn expression that seemed to follow Emma's every move. She felt a chill run down her spine, but quickly brushed it off as a product of her imagination. "Let's see what secrets you're hiding," she murmured to herself, setting up her tools. Emma spent the next few days meticulously cleaning the portrait, carefully removing layers of dirt and grime. As she worked, she felt a strange connection to the woman in the painting. She couldn't shake the feeling that those dark eyes were watching her, judging her every move. One evening, as she was about to call it a day, she noticed something peculiar. There was an inscription at the bottom of the painting, hidden beneath the layers of dirt. She leaned in closer, squinting in the dim light. The words were written in Latin, and although she wasn't fluent, she recognized enough to understand the gist. "Beware, for she seeks to return." Emma's heart raced. What could it mean? She decided to consult an old friend, Dr. Richard Graves, an expert in occult history. She sent him a photo of the inscription and hoped he could shed some light on the matter. That night, Emma couldn't sleep. She tossed and turned, her mind filled with images of the woman in the painting. She dreamt of dark forests, whispered incantations, and burning pyres. She awoke with a start, her heart pounding, feeling as if she had been there, witnessing the horrors of the past. The next morning, Emma received an urgent call from Dr. Graves. "Emma, you need to be careful," he warned. "The inscription on that painting, it's a warning. The woman in the portrait was accused of witchcraft and executed. But before she died, she swore she would return to take vengeance on those who wronged her." Emma felt a cold sweat break out on her forehead. "Do you think it's possible?" Dr. Graves sighed. "In my line of work, I've learned never to dismiss such things. You should consider stopping the restoration and leaving that painting alone." But Emma was stubborn. She couldn't walk away now. She had to see this through to uncover the truth, whatever it might be. As she continued her work, strange things began to happen. She heard whispers in the empty house, felt cold drafts that seemed to come from nowhere, and once, she even saw a shadowy figure out of the corner of her eye. She tried to tell herself it was just her imagination, but the sense of dread grew stronger with each passing day. One evening, as she was working late, Emma heard a faint whisper. "Emma, She froze, her heart pounding. The voice had come from behind her. Slowly, she turned around, but there was no one there. The room was empty, save for the painting, which now seemed to glow with an eerie light. "Emma!" The voice was louder now, more insistent. She felt a cold hand brush against her shoulder and screamed, dropping her tools. She spun around, but again, there was nothing. She was alone, or so it seemed. Panicking, she decided to take a break and stepped outside to clear her head. The cool night air did little to calm her nerves, and she found herself glancing back at the mansion, its dark windows like empty eyes watching her. Determined to get to the bottom of this, Emma called Dr. Graves and asked him to come to the mansion. She needed his expertise and support. When he arrived, they decided to hold a seance, hoping to communicate with the spirit and find out what it wanted. They set up in the study, with candles casting flickering shadows on the walls. Dr. Graves led the seance, speaking in low, soothing tones. First, nothing happened, but then the temperature dropped, and the candles flickered as if caught in a sudden breeze. "Who are you?" Dr. Graves asked. There was a long silence, and then a voice, faint but clear, echoed through the room. "I am Isabella. I seek justice." Emma shivered. "What do you want from us?" "Release me," the voice demanded. "Uncover the truth, and I will find peace." Dr. Graves nodded. "We will help you." Over the next few days, Emma and Dr. Graves delved into the history of the mansion and the portrait. They discovered that Isabella had been falsely accused of witchcraft by a jealous rival. She had been tortured and executed, but her spirit had lingered, seeking revenge. With this knowledge, Emma felt a renewed sense of purpose. She worked tirelessly to finish the restoration, hoping that by bringing the truth to light, she could finally free Isabella's spirit. But the haunting intensified. The whispers grew louder, the cold drafts more frequent, and Emma began to see Isabella's ghostly figure more clearly. She felt a growing connection to the spirit, as if Isabella's pain and anger were becoming her own. One stormy night, as Emma was putting the final touches on the portrait, the house seemed to come alive. The walls creaked, the windows rattled, and the air was filled with the sound of distant wailing. Emma worked feverishly, her hands trembling. She knew she was close to the truth, and she had to see it through. As she finished, a blinding light filled the room, and Isabella's ghostly figure appeared before her. "Thank you," Isabella whispered. "You have freed me." Emma felt a wave of relief wash over her. But as the light faded, she realized that Isabella's spirit was not leaving. Instead, it seemed to merge with her, filling her with a cold, dark energy. In the days that followed, Emma felt different. She was no longer haunted by whispers or cold drafts, but she couldn't shake the feeling that she was not alone. Isabella's spirit had become a part of her, and she could feel the witch's anger and desire for revenge burning within her. Dr. Graves, sensing the change in his friend, tried to help her. He performed rituals and sought the advice of other experts, but nothing seemed to work. Emma was no longer herself. She had become the vessel for Isabella's spirit. Realizing that she could never be free of Isabella, Emma decided to embrace her new reality. She left her old life behind and moved to a remote village, where she used her newfound powers to seek out and expose injustice. Though she had lost her old self, she found a new purpose. She was no longer just Emma Walker. She was the living embodiment of Isabella's spirit, a force of justice and retribution. Years passed and Emma's legend grew. People spoke of the mysterious woman who brought justice to those who had been wronged, her presence both feared and revered. She continued to be haunted by Isabella's memories and desires, but she had found a way to coexist with the spirit within her. In the end, Emma had not just restored a painting. She had uncovered a truth and brought peace to a tormented soul. And though her own life had been forever changed, she knew she had done the right thing. She had become a part of the legend, an eternal vigilante in the shadows, forever bound to the spirit she had freed. The mansion stood empty once more, a silent testament to the power of the past and the enduring strength of the human spirit. And in the study, the portrait of Isabella remained, a haunting reminder of the woman who had sought justice from beyond the grave.